right, so now we have our basic background about muscles and how kind of muscles work on at least a basic level. We're going to go ahead and talk about, I guess we say, the hard part of this body system and get into all the different muscles. Now we're going to talk a little bit of some more generic information about muscles, just a little bit more in terms of what they do, some vocabulary terms like agonist and antagonist. We're going to talk a little bit more about structure and organization of muscles on a larger scale, and how they generate force, and then talk about how do we name muscles, and then we'll get into the different muscles that we find in the system, what actions they do, and then look at what, not just the muscles, but also where do they originate and where they insert at in their prime movements. So this one again is a big one. Really take your time with it. So what we want to do with 10.2 is we want to talk about some of the vocab, so an agonist versus antagonist, talk about how fascicles are arranged, and then get into how muscle contraction within a muscle generates force. When it comes to talk about skeletal muscles, there's really 2 points that we care about, at least right now. And that's basically the 2 points, or at least the 2 points, could be more, but at least 2 points where the muscle connects. One of these points of attachment is called the insertion. This is going to be the movable end of the muscle, so the end of the muscle that's attached to the part that's going to be moved, versus the origin. The origin, this is going to attach to the bone that is not moving, the body part that is not moving. So we think about like the biceps brachii, which you find in your arm. The biceps brachii helps you flex your arm at the elbow. And so the insertion is going to be up near the shoulder because the shoulder is not moving. That would be the origin, right? The origin is going to be up in the shoulder because that's the part that is not moving. The shoulder is not moving in that action when the biceps brachii contracts. The insertion is going to be across the elbow, right? It's going to be across the elbow in the forearm, because when the biceps brachii contracts, then the insertion end, the forearm, is pulled in towards the shoulder. Right? It's flexing at the elbow. So we want to keep those terms, insertion and origin, in your head. There's not always just one of each. Sometimes you can have more than one. Let's go into the muscle groups. The muscle groups, this is just muscles that are involved in a particular action together. We have what's called the prime mover, or the agonist. This is the major muscle that's involved in the action. It's the principal one, so it's the main one, right? It's the main muscle involved in performing that particular action. So like we just mentioned, flexing at the elbow, right? We have a main muscle, the agonist, which is going to be the main one doing that movement. Synergists are going to be helping the prime mover. So they're going to help cause movement in the same direction as the agonist. Fixators will stabilize the bone for the prime movers at origin. So these are like kind of just making sure that the origin does not move. And then antagonists, they have an opposite action of the prime mover. So I know you mentioned the biceps brachii before and how that could be an agonist, right? So biceps brachii, primary movement is going to be to move, to flex at the elbow. We also have the brachioradialis that can help with that, so synergist. Fixator muscles can be up in the shoulder area to stabilize that shoulder. And then the antagonist is going to be something like the triceps brachii, because the triceps brachii is going to extend the arm at the elbow. So the biceps brachii flexes the arm at the elbow. The triceps brachii extends the arm at the elbow. So they do opposite jobs. Right, extension versus flexion. Right, so here we see, right, we see, like I mentioned, this is the exact one I was talking about, right? So we have the biceps brachii, right, which is the prime mover. We have a brachioradialis that is helping. We also have the brachialis, which is helping as well, again, to generate that force to flex at the elbow. So we have, again, prime mover, biceps brachii is the major player. Brachioradialis and the brachialis are going to help. And then the triceps brachii is the antagonist, right, because it's doing the opposite, right? So that's the one we already talked about, but there's a couple others, like the hamstrings. This is 3 muscles in the back end of the thigh. They're going to help to basically bend your leg at the knee. The quadriceps femoris, which are 4 muscles found in the front of the thigh, are going to help extend your leg at the knee. Right, so we see the agonist and antagonist relationship. Right, so hamstrings flex at the knee, quadriceps extend it. We see the same thing down here with the flexor digitorum superficialis and the flexor digitorum profundus. These are found in the anterior compartment of the forearm versus the extensor digitorum in the posterior, found in the back compartment of the forearm. And the names alone tell us, right? Digitorum, we know we're dealing with the same part, but the action is different, right? Flexor versus extensor.